Hopefully this class has been meaningful to you all. It certainly was. As I've given testimony before, this class kind of was a pivot point in my life, I think. And so hopefully it's something that is super meaningful to y'all. Today we've got 2 classes left, so I'm doing day 6 again. Kind of slightly different perspective, maybe, as you might imagine. And Bobby's going to wrap it all up next week and put a bow on it, I think.
There's Shane, and then we have
Oh, just kidding, 3 more. See? So I want to start, I'm going to do day 6, but the thing that I want to go back to and to remind you all of is that none of it matters, none of it means a thing if you don't get day 2. Who remembers what day 2 is? Not Shane or Bobby. What's day 2? He created the sky. What is that? What is that in this metaphor in this class? How do you see the sky? You look up. Right? This is the day that you look up, the day you connect with God. If we don't do day 2, none of this matters. And if you do day 2, the rest of it will be really, really easy. So while you're on a search for purpose and you're on a search for your giftedness and you're on a search for creating order and you get all down in the muck of order, and I know you're not doing budgets, but these other things, calendarization, I guess, you do that maybe. While you're down in that muck, remember that if you're not in day 2, if that's not where your foundation is, then it doesn't matter how much order you create or how much effort you put into finding giftedness or what your purpose is. Okay? So stay in day 2 always, and the rest of this stuff comes easy. And or you can say it's a prerequisite. And if you do day 2, this stuff is really, really meaningful. So on day 6, God created the animals and man. So this is the day you discover why you were born. Genesis 1:26 through 30 said, "Then God said, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." Immediately when he said, let us make mankind in our image, he told us why he made it. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. As soon as he created man, he gave man a purpose. So when we distill down our purpose on earth, it's all here. And it was all given to us as a directive in the very beginning. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth and to all the birds in the sky and to all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has a breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. You don't have to raise your hand. But I would think that the largest population in here would believe that they have a purpose. Who believes they have a purpose? I think that's something that we often, as Christians, we take for granted. Maybe even as Christians, sometimes that's hard for us to get to. But we know for a fact that we have a purpose. And I'll say we all have a very specific purpose. In what ways have you developed or did you develop or explore your purpose in the first time? I think this is a little bit of a different answer sometimes. So how did we do that? in the first half of life, how did we develop our purpose or explore or try to find our purpose? What did we do?
Do you know your purpose in the first half?
I don't know if you do or not, but certainly you're striving for something, right?
It feels more reflective
If you're
at this age.
okay,
That I look back on things and think, well, maybe that was the purpose, right? I'm just dog paddling trying to survive the first half, and now it feels like, oh, that's okay, right?
yeah. So maybe so. Maybe it is purely developmental. Maybe there's somebody in here that's like a prodigy. I was kind of like you, just kind of dumb doing things.
I look at you as a prodigy.
Well, I appreciate that, but my wife, she might not
Should
think so.
disagree.
Yeah.
Mine would too.
So did we? Is that a constant for everybody, or did somebody say, "I'm going"? So it's my journey that I take go on to explain kind of why this made sense to me at 30. Is that like you're kind of told what to do. You go from elementary school. What's after elementary school? Well, middle school. After middle school, there's high school. But after high school, you can go into a trade, or you can join the military. You can go to college. But that's just the natural things. That's what you do. And if you don't, I don't know. I guess there's some people that don't. But yes, sir.
Well, I think slightly different maybe, that in the first half, I thought everything was my purpose. So being part of this band, this group, this team, that was my purpose in life.
Okay.
And so I think that you kind of stumbled from one purpose to the next.
Okay.
But you always thought that you had found
Your thing.
purpose. Or maybe that's just my experience. But I thought that's what I was going to be doing for the rest of my life.
No, I think that's
And it
fair.
never
Yeah,
was.
I think that's fair. I remember the teachers in high school telling me these people are going to be the most important people in your life. You know, your classmates. Like I talked to one maybe. But to your point, maybe that's the perspective you have. It is everything. This is why I'm here, because I'm supposed to be the quarterback,
Yeah.
right? And you're naive enough to believe that that's what you're or you're, you know. But either way, everything kind of just you just progress, as you said. You kind of progress, and it's all kind of natural. And then you get to after college or whatever, you get a job. You have a wife and kids, and then what? Or you don't have a wife and kids, but then what?
I'm a planner, so I like to plan things. And
Uh-huh.
so when you said that, the first thing I thought was, I knew my purpose pretty early on. But God's sense of humor, I mean,
Right?
I was going to be a mom to 2 boys. Like, that's what I was going to do.
We're laughing with you.
3 girls. And, but I think flexibility is the key, because your purpose is constantly changing because of your surroundings.
Remember we said this is purpose, right? And this was unique abilities, and this was passion, and this was, what was this one, Bobby? Opportunities, yeah. This is the first week I didn't put this Venn diagram in my slides, but I've drawn it now. So exactly as you said, everything with each new experience or each new opportunity or each new learning, you grow this, right? These circles grow, and so this purpose grows and changes. Your passions certainly change. I'm not near as hyped about high school basketball as I was when I was a freshman. And the fraternity doesn't mean near as much to me now as it once did.
I think we put, this may be a modern question, because I'm thinking in the 1800s, you just wanted to survive the winter. And you didn't have time to think about all of this stuff. You know, you got married, you apprenticed. If your dad was a dairy farmer, you were a dairy farmer, and so on and so on and so on. And you didn't really have the, what am I gifted in, and all that stuff. And I think now, I see a lot of 20s and 30s even, like, so pressured by this question. What is my passion?
Trying to answer it.
And my one great thing, and maybe there's not one great thing. Maybe it's a series of what's put in front of you and you just,
Well,
what's next?
to your point, I'll suggest. I think probably I like where you're going because this is like suffering. Also, you said this during day 3. Like only until recently did we like suffering was just a part of life. You didn't try to avoid it. You knew that was going to happen. People were going to in your life were going to pass. You were going to have to work hard. That happened also in the creation story, right? He told us what all of a sudden now you got to work hard and pain and labor. But if you were a smith, you knew you were a smith. If you were a tanner, you knew you were a tanner, right? There was a reason that people did those things. And you may have been an apprentice, but you were certainly gifted at it. Maybe you didn't ask that, so you didn't have to post it on Instagram and say, oh, whatever, right? You didn't have to talk about it. But everybody knew if they needed some new tools made, they went to the smith because he was good at making tools. If he wasn't, he found a new trade.
And I think for females, it has changed a lot in the last 5 decades also. The purpose of having babies, taking care of the babies, making the casseroles for somebody, and that's changed a lot.
So to Bonnie's point, is that something we put on ourselves, or is that...
Opportunity, maybe.
Okay, I like that. Right, so this is, I guess, in our society also, we've become a lot more specialized. So it wasn't necessarily like I'm a gardener and I'm a carpenter and because if I don't, then my kids are going to have a leaky house and they're not going to eat and they're, so you just you just did. You didn't think about, what is my purpose?
I think we have to be careful not to let other people pressure us in to what our purpose is.
Okay.
They think our purpose is.
Okay, yeah, for sure. This is another thing. Like in modern day, we have the opportunity to think about this stuff. But I think some of what drives us to think about this stuff is the busyness and all the noise. Like Bonnie said, back then you just did because if you didn't, you were cold. And now you're like, well, I'm not going to be cold tonight, so what can I do in my free time? What am I supposed to be doing? I guess what I want to suggest, and I hope that I get across today, is that we should be thinking about this. Otherwise, we will be consumed with the busyness and the non-value added because we don't have the same situations that we had at the beginning when all you had to do was plant, and not all you had to do, right? You had to continue working every day. So in the first half, I like Lori kind of went where I was hoping we would kind of go a little bit. We did some things, whether they were intentional or not. We did some things. Some of us went to college. Some of us went to school. Some of us pursued a career, and in that career, we wanted to do something, right? And so we were trying to make the best of ourselves in some way. I also like the idea that some of that was pretty naive, right? Maybe we didn't think that much about it. We just did it, but we were still in pursuit of it, or we were exploring it. We were developing it, if nothing else. And then maybe at some point in our 40s and 50s, we said, what is our purpose? Oh, now all that makes sense when I can look, retroactively at it. Here's the baseball analogy. Everybody on the field knows their purpose. If the right fielder tries to play third base, we're going to get messed up. And there's going to be a big gap in the outfield. Kyle played a baseball game on Saturday. They had to play with 8 people. There was no center fielder. It was hard on the other team because they didn't have a center fielder. So not only do we have a purpose that we explore, that we have, what I'll suggest is our purpose isn't for us. Our purpose is to cover the field for the team. There's a lot of scripture in that. Also notice the third baseman has the smallest area of anyone. So they hot corner. What grade do you give yourself in fulfilling your purpose? As I thought about this, I thought about baseball too. If you hit 400 in your career, you're in the Hall of Fame. And I'm guessing, if I was to be honest, if I could hit about 400 on fulfilling my purpose, that might be pretty good. So think about all the stuff that's in my life. If you just take an inventory of all the things that are in your life and say, what portion of this is aimed at me fulfilling my purpose? Now you look at it that way, there's a lot of stress that I induce sometimes, saying, what am I doing? I've got free time. What am I doing? Or I don't have free time. Does this make sense? This is stupid. Why am I even in this meeting? Right? Is this helping me do my job? Is this helping me be a better person? Is this helping the people around me be better? And so when you look at it like that, like 400 might be lofty. I might be hitting 120. I don't know. They might be sending me to the minors soon. But I do think about this a lot. So I think there's some, I don't know if we're intended to have some burden in that. I don't know if God if that's what He wants. If you don't, let me say, if you're all of a sudden hitting 150 on fulfilling your purpose, sometimes God will throw something at you to get your attention. You haven't thought about this in a while. So here, do this. It's not always the case, but that's the thing also that stresses me a little bit. Like, am I hitting 300? If not, then watch out, here comes cancer. That's not always the reason, but sometimes that's how my mind works. Some of the most this book, Man's Search for Meaning. Anybody ever read this book? If you haven't, read it. And if you have, read it. Like, beyond the Bible, this is the I think for me the most meaningful read. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist in Nazi Germany. He was a Jew, and he went through multiple concentration camps, basically perceiving everything as a study, as a psychiatrist. Kelly doesn't like it when I read to classes, so I do have some things to read, but only if we don't talk enough. So sometimes you'll get adjusted. If you're not taking advantage of the opportunities that God's given you, sometimes He'll throw some more at you that you don't want to have. Sometimes that turns into being a unique ability, though, too. Create something special in you. That's what Viktor Frankl says also. All right. You've seen this slide before. So again, I'm just trying to throw a bunch of stuff at you today to make you feel guilty for not fulfilling your purpose to the greatest ability. That's all I'm trying to do, okay? So I hope that you either feel really guilty when you leave here or inspired. Okay? But that goes back to what Shane Reeves said. You can be bitter, you can be better. This is your story. It's tiny down here, a little bitty portion. This actually starts before the 30s. I don't think anybody, it's probably here really, even smaller. Back here, in here, Jonah is in here somewhere, right? Where's Jonah? Bobby?
8th century BC.
All right, there you go. Jonah. Did Jonah have a purpose? Yes?
Purpose the same as task?
Can be, I think. The task is like a medium for you to fulfill your purpose, maybe. Right? So it was his calling. He was literally called to Nineveh. What did he do? He's like, nah, I don't want to do that. He was hitting 120 that day. God sent a whale. But because he did, and he adjusted course, something in here changed a lot because of his small portion of the story, right? You might suggest that your portion of the story, because of modern technology, your portion of the story could impact a much, much, much bigger portion of the story than Jonah's. I don't know the population of Nineveh. I might have that many followers on something, though. So you're a character in God's story. Your story is inside God's story. Are you playing the role that He wrote for you? I'm going to read through this. If you want to look it up, you can, but I'll have it up here if you don't. 1 Peter 4, 7 through 11 sums it up for me. The end of all things is near. Therefore be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. What does that sound like? That sounds like something we said last week, doesn't it? Shane said, number your days. Right? First Peter's telling you right here, the end of all things is near. Oh. We're going to watch a video. I'm just kidding. This was for Dr. Sane.
That's awesome, thank you.
Again, Scripture says, number your days. If it makes you sad, then spend more time in the cage. I don't know if that analogy worked or not. Try harder. The end of all things is near. Therefore be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. So this is number your days, right? And then he says, day 2, right? Pray. And then he says, it's not about you. Without grumbling. Okay? It's not about you. It's about those around you. Then he says, each one of you should use whatever gift you've received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. How? This is when you also you feel guilty. If anyone speaks, they should do as one who speaks the very words of God. That's how you should do it. So I just raised my hand. Who's used their gift this week? Everybody raise their hand. Who used their gift so big that it was as if God had put that on you and had skilled you to do that? So even if you are using your gift, are you using it fully? If I do believe that God is with me everywhere I go, but I promise you, like I don't always act and speak as if these are the words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Christ Jesus. Well, they said God-sized goals. If you set a goal that's just reachable, you set a goal that could only be achieved if God was involved. So, Robert, in what ways have we developed or explored our purpose in the second half? How do we do that? This is where you all get to learn from each other, and selfishly, the reason I'm in here is so that I can learn from you all. How in the second half of life are we exploring, or are we developing? Are we acknowledging? Are we using our purpose?
I think there's a phase towards the latter third of a career where I feel like, at least for me, I feel like I'm sharpening my pencil. where it's finally have gotten, figured out what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get better at it, just a little bit, and always just trying to sharpen that some. Whereas before I didn't know that I was getting to this spot.
Uh-huh.
And now that I'm in this spot that I am, I feel like I'm trying to get just a little better at what I'm doing. A lot of by not doing some things I've done in the past.
Uh-huh. So it's like reading a book on business, kind of leadership. And then at some point in your career, you're like, I get all that. What's the one thing or the two things that these guys that I can do that I can as with my giftedness? How else do we do that? How do you do that specifically? How do you sharpen your pencil? Is it reading? Is it
Some reading, some just activity, and for me, most of the things, not doing what I've done in the past and being cognizant of that. It was really a blunt object years ago, and now it's trying to sharpen it by not doing what I've done in the past.
Because
So
it
we-
didn't work or because it was too many things?
Yes. Mostly because it didn't work.
So I got read and reflect. How else do we do that?
I like what you said a couple lessons ago. You said we can be comfortable or we can be awesome, but we can't be both.
Mm-hmm.
And so being uncomfortable, I've learned that if I'm uncomfortable with something, I go to the reason why I'm uncomfortable with that. What do I need to learn from that? What do I need to go through? And it's not always comfortable.
Uh-huh.
But I'm always constantly trying to figure out the why piece and how I can be better through that. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Make yourself uncomfortable. Can y'all read that? David Young said that, by the way. I just quoted him. There's a lot to that. I did a stint in my career. I left manufacturing. I was in manufacturing for 13 years, and I went to the corporate world, which is a whole nother. I was in Deckard, Tennessee, in a plant for 13 years, and then I went to Cool Springs, Franklin, to the corporate setting where many of those people were transplanted from California. Others were, Ivy League educated. And I worked in the chairman's office. Every day of that job, I'm not saying this to blow smoke, so please don't take it that way. Every day of that job was extremely uncomfortable because I was way outside of my norm. I was way outside. I was reared in Ridgetop, Tennessee. And I was way outside of my norm. But I learned to be able to go into rooms, being the dumbest guy in the room, and consume information and help people get to solve problems. That was my job. But I was always the dumbest guy in the room, literally. We were in there talking about marketing issues, and I'm not a marketer. If you couldn't tell, I'm not a human resource guy. We did human resource projects, right? And I found that when I wasn't uncomfortable, I was the most uncomfortable because I wasn't growing. I didn't like it was real. I really got used to being uncomfortable, sticking my neck out all the time, and just exploring. And I found that if you like there was so much truth in that. To the extent now that like when I start to feel comfortable, I start to feel stressed. This is too easy. This is something I need to. This is all in the ideal state of Evan too, right? This is not Evan's every day. Please don't think that.
I'm going to disagree with Lori. Like I tend to enjoy doing quite a bit. I feel that as I'm in my second half and finding purpose, I'm wanting to make myself as least uncomfortable as possible.
Okay.
Because I feel like when I'm doing things that I feel good about, I do it really well. And if I'm doing things that make myself uncomfortable, I'm not doing it very well. So I want to surround myself with teammates that can take care of the things that don't make me comfortable. So I'm going to find somebody else to do. I'm going to outsource that to them.
Maybe this is part of it too, though. I think in wisdom, you start to help other people learn to feel uncomfortable. Like I'm gonna give you my uncomfortable. Like
But
I wanna
to do
challenge you.
Something that they like to do.
That's right.
You with me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I've had this conversation with a couple of people at school recently that, hey, if you'll do that, I'll take care of this. I like doing this, and I feel like I'm good at it.
Mhm.
Let me go and do that, because when I'm doing something that is comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in a professional setting or in a purpose setting,
Uh huh.
I'm more joyful. And when I'm more
Okay.
joyful, right? If I'm constantly uncomfortable, I'm less joyful.
This goes back to you using your giftedness, also. Yeah. And if I'm not gifted at this point in my life, if I'm not gifted at it. Either I don't have the time to get gifted at it, or
So
I don't need to.
The analogy that I use is Charles Barkley. When Charles Barkley came out of college, he couldn't go left at all. But he was great going right. So he would go right all the time. Eventually he went left a little bit, but he was always great going right. I want to be able to be great going this way, and I'll let somebody else go the other way. Right? You
Yeah.
with me?
Oh yeah.
That's how I feel when I remember being a young coach, and I would go to a clinic and I'd change every defense and every offense, because that's what that guy was doing and they were successful at it.
Uh-huh.
And I'd come back and I'd mess my team up by doing it. And then I'd try something else, try something else, try something else. And if I could go back and tell my 25-year-old self, do this and just shut up and do this one thing and be great at it. And be Jim Boeheim. Play 2-3 zone the whole time and make somebody figure out how to score against you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Sorry for all the sports.
All the sports analogies. We have baseball, basketball.
He did ask me, BJ. He did not say, BJ, what do you do? He said, Robert, what do you do? I just think there's a spot where, yes, I think, Lord, you're
Uh-huh.
right. Figuring out the why and making yourself comfortable, figure out the why. But I think when you get to a spot where you're doing
Uh-huh.
what your purpose is,
Yep.
and you're doing it comfort may not be the right word, but when you're doing the Jim Collins hedgehog and you're doing it really good and you're just plowing along, that's a pretty sweet spot to be in.
Bobby.
I think there's two different things going on here maybe. I think in my career, I feel more comfortable, like Robert said. And
Uh-huh.
it's nice. It's nice to finally be there and actually be really good at what you do. And I think that's appropriate for your career. But a lot of things in the second half of life that have nothing to do with my career have made me extremely uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
Like death and disappointment and health problems and all these other things. And so I think for me, the second half of life has been, I keep the career and you need to have something that makes you feel good about yourself and
Uh-huh.
confident. But it's the discomfort comes in that journey inward, that stage 4 that we keep talking about in the critical journey of your stages of faith. And I think that's the part that if we allow ourselves, it does make us uncomfortable. We can deepen our faith in God. We can die to self more. We can deepen our relationships in different ways. We can forgive in ways we've never forgiven. We can do a lot of things that are very uncomfortable, but are the task of the second half. That's what I kind of think.
I was gonna follow that up with, I feel
agree
this
with that.
male-female difference really heavy in the way y'all are doing. Because for me, my purpose for years, decades, was my children.
Uh-huh.
And raising them and making sure they got off and didn't die and all the things. So then when that stops and they no longer need me, it's really disorienting. So what do I want to be when they grow up? And I found myself saying, oh, now there's time for me. Now this is me and all about me. And I'm realizing, actually, it is so not about
There
me.
is no retirement.
It is about everyone else now. It's
Uh-huh.
about my siblings and my parents and my in-laws and what can I do, give back to church. It's not about me at all. So that has been very uncomfortable and eye-opening and a big shift.
Is this also a modern thing?
The empty nest thing? Probably. They used to just go off to the west and we never saw them again.
ate by the coyotes.
A little early, you know?
Yeah, but also to that point, like you kind of knew your mom was, you were still in the house with your mom, or whatever, right? You're still on the same farm, and you knew she was going to get sick and you had to take care of her. That was because she took care of your grandmother. Your grandmother may have been there too. Probably you were 12 taking care of your grandmother. You know, so this is kind of one of those things like, finally I can retire and I can go to the beach and
No, not so much.
my kids are gone and
Retirement's not in scripture.
That's right.
He'd also quote David Young. He said in a sermon, "You're either comfortable or you're awesome.
Mhm.
You're either comfortable or you're awesome."
That's right, yeah.
And I don't know, I've changed roles. I'm still a teacher, but I've changed roles many times, and every time I've changed, I think I've gotten better. And
Uh-huh.
Because I think when you do get in your wheelhouse, because some of these spots that I was in, I felt like I was in my niche, and it's like, well, I've got this, but no, I've got this. I kept saying, I've got this. See, I felt like I was in control.
Uh-huh.
But I think sometimes you need to move. You need to put yourself in a situation where it's like, hey, I need help with that,
Mhm.
and I need God help me with this. And I think sometimes He'll put you in that to remind you that, hey, I'm the one that made you this way, and to always include Him. And I think my prayer life is, man, it's elevated a lot more than it did when I first started, because I would get in my niche. But I see that right now, because I talk to Him daily now that I encounter kindergarten and first grade. I talk to Him a lot. Like I'm talking right now. Like, don't let me say something stupid.
Yeah.
But it's a constant. But like you said, the uncomfortableness, I do see that, and I think it's important to put ourselves in that situation.
So an additional challenge that I'll give to you, we've got this Venn diagram for ourselves, and we're looking at our abilities and opportunities and our passions. But you're married. Say you're married, or you have other significant others. You have other lives that are impacting your life, that are in your day to day. Lay their Venn diagram over your Venn diagram. Now it's really complicated, but it's also really powerful, right? Because Kelly's in my purpose, like mine goes up like exponentially whenever you put Kelly's in, right? Mine's kind of small, but like it grows when the two of you, like, really, you can be hyper focused. Okay, now we both have these sets of experiences, and we both have these unique abilities, and we both have these. Now we're one flesh. What's our purpose? I don't know. There's probably not many books written on that one. So this is another challenge. Yeah, go ahead, Harding.
What Robert said is backed up by a leadership guy, I'm sure everybody's, John Maxwell. He said, do what you're good at, let somebody else do the rest of it. Also, winners don't play games they can't win. But on the other hand, sometimes that doesn't, like, maybe twofold. Sometimes we don't really know what exactly your purpose is. You just got to stick with the ABCs.
Mhm.
What are those? Love God, keep His commandments, serve others. There's plenty of things outlined in the Bible. If you don't just do the ABCs.
Yep.
And you're serving God's providence, His purpose, doing that. You don't have to be the big fish in
That's right.
all the time.
That's right. I think we're out of time. I got a couple more slides, but y'all get the idea. Did anybody feel guilty? Anybody inspired? All right, there we go. Thank y'all.